Hello, everyone. This is Sean Smith, and you are tuned in to the Kountryfried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. The podcast that will connect you to resources regionally and nationwide to engage them and you in open, honest discussions so that we can inspire the growth that you need to chase the experience you want. So strap yourself in because here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a long-awaited episode of the Kountryfried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. I'm Sean Smith, and on the other line is co-host Sam. Sam, say what's up to the people.
Hey, guys. How's everyone been?
Hopefully they've been about as good as we've been. We've been kind of slacking. I have been busier than let's say a two-peckered billy goat these days. With work, the way things have been going, we've been short-staffed a little bit. We brought on board the new guy, so we've had a lot of training we've been doing with him. So I've been heading over to the northwest corner of the state to help him out. So I just been busy. So it's been kind of hard for me to keep up with all the side gigs. So the podcast,
no doubt about that.
Right,
as soon as the warm weather hits, everybody's schedule turns to dust, and you're just on the move, constantly.
Yeah, so the podcast has been lacking. We apologize for that, but it is what it is. We hopefully can get back in the studio and record more and get another good backlog of episodes ready to go, so it can be a little bit smoother for you guys. So. Anyways, Sam, it's been a while since we talked on the podcast, and hunting season's actually not too far away. Your bow season for elk actually comes in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's quickly approaching here. It will open on actually Labor Day this year, on Monday. It's at least with the current season structure, it's September 2nd. Every year is when archery season opens. The last couple of years, we've been fortunate, and it's opened on a Thursday or a Friday, so you get that nice roll into a long weekend if you don't have a lot of time to take off as kind of a local. Mm-hmm. But this year, if you don't have a lot of time to take off, well, I guess you're going to get 3 days to roll into that archery season.
Yeah, the way it looks like, because it's falling in there on Labor Day. But speaking of archery season in Colorado, I'm sure everyone who is a elk hunter knows this by now, but this is the last year for the foreseeable future, let's put it that way, for over-the-counter archery tags for elk as an out-of-state resident or out-of-state hunter. Non-resident, yeah. I knew I was trying to get there somewhere. Thank you for correcting that. Last year for non-resident over-the-counter archery tags in Colorado.
Yes, sir. It didn't really come as a shock. Some of the parks and wildlife meetings I've been to for season structure debate and rule changing coming up, from at least the public that I heard, all the residents are more than happy to have it. Of course, as a non-resident, they're not too happy. Some of the outfitters kind of in between there, probably a 50-50 split. A lot of their business is coming from over-the-counter archery hunters. They're going to lose a significant amount of that business. But that being said, a lot of these new units rolling into draw units, they're not going to be hard to get tags, 0 points usually, as you've seen with the past couple of years with where you've been hunting with me.
Correct. Yeah, it's just the only issue is I have to buy a small game license, which adds another $100 to my already $800. Well, it's almost $800. It's like $750, something like that expense. So.
I believe it did go up this year to slightly over 800.
Yeah, and that's not me complain. I mean, I guess I was complaining a little bit, but I'm not complaining about the tag, about the price of the archery elk tag. It's now, instead of just going in and buying a tag or just getting online and buying a tag at $750, now I have to spend an extra $100 to get a small game hunting license to get entered into the draw, or able to enter into the draw, and spend another $10. I think it is $15 per application.
I believe it is $10 per application.
Sir. And I know someone will correct me, and I think you're right. I think it is 10. But
and not to mention, they did away with the over-the-counter archery, but left the over-the-counter rifle. And I could get into the weeds. I don't think I will since we kind of have some short time today. But their argument for eliminating the over the counter archery is due to pressure and it being a sensitive time for breeding elk. Now, on a quick note, once rifle season hits, those elk are bred. So, I mean, you're kind of not making a whole lot of sense in my mind to, oh, well, we don't want to pressure them while they're breeding, but it's fine to knock them down after they're bred.
Right. Yeah, I don't, I'm sure someone has a response to that, that would at least maybe explain it, whether we fully buy into it or not. But I'm sure someone has an explanation to it. But that is a good question, and that's hopefully maybe somebody somewhere along the way we can get somebody on here to explain it. So if you're listening and you'd like your opportunity to explain things and be on a podcast, we'd be more than happy to have you on.
Absolutely. I'd love to sit down and kick the rocks down the road to get down to some of this biological science that is leading them in the direction that's leading them. Another big turn coming up in 2025 too. Resident versus non-resident allocation is going to be changing, and I think it's going to be 75 resident, 25 non-resident, if I'm not mistaken, for any draw unit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously they're trying to look out for the residents of Colorado.
Absolutely, they're following suit of a lot of the other Western states.
And
It's still not anywhere near as crazy as what a lot of the other states are doing, but
right,
it's tipping in that direction because it is becoming more popular in the hunting world to kind of want to push some people out because a lot of our money for conservation comes from the diversity and group of people and tag allocation and money spent within the communities.
and yeah. Well, you got to think also like the amount of money that, I know back here in Ohio when gun season was like the thing, which it's not anymore, at least not in this area. It's not like, you would see signs everywhere. Hunters welcome, hunters hunt. These are like, bed and breakfasts. They're small little micro hotels. They're the small little mom and pop restaurants. They
Yes, sir.
loved hunting season when it came in because everyone was coming into town, whether you're from out of state, out of town, or just a local that's, coming out and enjoying the culture that was, gun season. And today it's just nowhere near what that used to be. And I know I can't say that those businesses highly depended upon that for their yearly income, but definitely for that quarter or that time frame or that time period, they did, because it's a slow period during then. It's fall.
Absolutely.
It's late fall. So the leaves have pretty much have all changed colors, and most of them have already fallen off the tree. So there's that sightseeing pretty much is gone. So that was the next big draw to the area. But listen, as times change, so it is. You either have to adapt and overcome or get left behind, and that's the sad part about it.
No doubt. And yeah, that's still a big part of the community out here. You come out and you still see all the flags in front of stores, welcome hunters and all the try and catch all stuff for the out of staters,
Right,
like you said, the microtels and everything getting their biggest burst of income for the season, which might be getting cut down now.
right. And
Um,
it's
Go
sad
ahead.
to see that.
It is, but again, as you said, times are changing and we got to find more ways to keep moving along.
And it's,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
can't always be the same.
yeah, yeah, it's true. It's either you either find a way to adapt and move along with it, or you get left behind. Like the world's going to keep moving forward or moving on. Like it's not stopping.
Nope.
Um, and sometimes that's a bad thing. It's not moving the direction that we want it to move towards. But ebb and flows, ebb and flows.
No doubt. It'll eventually make a dramatic swing another way, and we'll be talking about that in the future, I'm sure.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, the
Speaking of
pod.
dramatic swings, we have a big ballot box biology issue coming up here soon, and it is official. It will be on the ballot. They supposedly got 188,000, I believe, signatures to get this posted, and that would be the quote unquote trophy hunting ban
Yeah,
for bobcats and mountain lions.
yeah,
So there's another big shift that may or hopefully is not coming.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of the hunter advocate groups are starting to dump more money into advertising and education on that right now. I've been
Yeah,
noticing a lot. But here's the next big thing though, is how many people outside of the hunting community are they reaching? Because if they're trying to do this through social media, good luck, because I guarantee you 3/4 of that stuff's not making it to anybody that doesn't already follow them.
yep.
Because
And
algorithms, and also the black, kind of like the blacklisting and the shadow banning that social medias do.
absolutely. I know I've seen a lot of stuff from Gates and CRWM, Colorad's for Responsible Wildlife Management. They're doing a really good job of getting information out there. But like I said, everything I'm seeing is from people who already have the same views as you and I do as far as mountain lion and bobcat hunting go. I know those people do have followers that aren't necessarily hunters and might necessarily go, well, yeah, they need to shoot bobcats and lions. And so it is a good thing. And I do believe it's reaching some people. I do follow a photography account. Most of his photography is from Rocky Mountain National Park, but he's also a very avid hunter out of his photography.
Mhm.
And so he reaches a wide array of people, and has been sharing nonstop about these issues. So
Right.
it's really good to see a lot of it starting to surface to light, and these not advocacy groups, these activist groups called out on the lies that they're pushing.
But here's what most people, here's what they're not hearing, and this isn't necessarily just a hunting thing, right? It's conservation in overall, right? Because
Absolutely.
here's what's going to, so if you ban hunting of these animals, or you make it extremely hard to do, what will happen is that they will overpopulate, because the resources are there for them to overpopulate. And if it's not from wild game or wild animals, it's going to be from domestic animals in the area, or domesticated or livestock. It's going, they have the resources there to overpopulate. Once that happens, the state then has to pay people to go in and kill the excess mountain lions, kill the excess
Absolutely.
bobcats.
It's not like these things aren't going to end up dying, and in the format that you're presenting, it's going to cost taxpayers millions of more dollars
It is.
instead of bringing revenue to a Parks and Wildlife agency that desperately needs it.
And that is exactly where I was going with that. That's exactly, it's like, why spend money when you can make money and
Absolutely.
achieve the same goal? Now, I can't sit here and tell you and promise you that hunters are going to do the job to totally control the population. Look at Ohio. Our deer population is exploding. We hunt. We're allowed to shoot a lot of deer here in Ohio. Not as much as some of the southern states, but we're allowed to shoot a lot. They're still exploding. And there are still areas that the state or local management efforts have to go out, pay people to go out and shoot and kill deer. So I'm not,
Not to mention the summer depredation tags that farmers get.
yeah, don't get me started on that. But anyways, I got really mixed feelings when it comes to that, and I don't have a problem with depredation tags. But my first question, and I'll say this: my first question that should be on the form, if to get a depredation tag, is: do you allow hunting on your land? If you don't allow people to hunt on it, then no, you're not getting a depredation tag, because I'm for people getting access to hunt, and I don't want to be, and I understand it's property owners' rights, so on and so forth. I understand that. However, if you have this problem, one of the big issues behind hunting right now is not opportunity, it's access. And if there's a way that we can create access so it can happen, then fine. And if nobody hunts your land, you allow it, but nobody hunts it. Okay, here's your tags. We all I'm asking is that you allow people to hunt your land, and not just your first cousin, right? And not just. I'm not saying you have to become part of a walk-in program, but have a handful of people that you can trust that can be there and hunt. It just it's I don't know. It's a hot button topic for me, and I'm sure I'm gonna have very polarizing views, and either people are gonna love me for what I say, or they're gonna hate me for what I say when it comes to that. But I really seriously don't think that you should get a depredation tag unless you allow hunting on your property.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But what I did see with a farm that I did hunt as a kid with my dad, we were fortunate enough we could hunt there in the fall and we could hunt there in the summer because the farmer would let us use some of his depredation tags.
Hmm.
Now his were for doe only.
Hmm.
I know different land and whatnot has different stipulations on what tags they do and don't get. But where we were in the summer, it was doe only, and we were never fortunate enough to harvest anything in the summer because I don't know why, our luck, or just because it's fun to see bucks. But for some reason, all we saw were antlered deer throughout the summer when we would try to get that depredation tag. But as time went on with that property, he would let more people in because he wanted deer off of his
Hmm.
property. Unfortunately, he got the wrong batch of people in there, and it led to him just cutting everybody off because of a few bad actors.
That is the side argument or the counter argument to what I just said, is that eventually some bad people get in there. And
Absolutely.
this is my call to people who are good ethical hunters, good, stewards of what we do, good good stewards of the land. When you see people doing stuff like that, dime them out. Like, I understand we don't want to be rats, but listen, this is a privilege. It's not a right for you to be there. And if it's not taken care of, you know, it's gone. And that's the biggest thing. Like, there is access. Like, Ohio is an opportunity state. You don't have to draw a tag. You could come in here and shoot up to 6 deer, right? You know, now, unfortunately, if you are strictly on public land, then the most deer you can shoot is 2, because you can shoot one antler deer in Ohio and one antler deer off of any public land. The end. So if that's all you hunt, that's the only 2 deer you can get, is that right there. But if you have access to private land, or a few other things that could work in your favor, maybe some controlled hunts, then you could get a few more. But for the most part, you can shoot up to 6 deer in Ohio. So it's not an opportunity thing; it's an access thing. That's what
It
I
is
see.
absolutely.
That's what I see. But I could be wrong. And everyone's entitled to their opinions. That's mine, and my opinion is based upon what my experience and the information I gather through my experiences. And
Well, and the thing here with, to put a picture on the access issue, Ohio is 98% private land. Now, it's not as big as Texas, but Texas is 98% private land. So if you kind of put it in a perspective of,
mhm.
I'm sure that's per capita, what the heck ever. But Ohio being so small and still having so little access to land compared to, 2% of Texas is a lot more than 2% of Ohio.
Correct. Texas is a big state. If you've never been there, nothing is within 1 hour of you in Texas. Here in Ohio, you have a college every 30 minutes. In Texas, there's nothing within 30 minutes of you.
No.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, there's so many avenues we could go on that. And once again, hopefully the voters in Colorado and other states are going to be faced with, similar ballots. Make the right decision for wildlife, and move forward with that.
Yeah, we can only hope. But speaking of decisions, have you picked a date for your upcoming hunt?
Well, there's a couple things in the air right now. Tori, my wife, is starting to get cold feet about coming out. I think she's got some things that are coming up that she might have to back out on. So that might actually change my structure of my hunt, to be honest with you. If
I mean, I don't want to say perfect, but in a sense, like, it'll give you a little more flexibility. We're sad to not be able to see her this year, but we're not going anywhere, and there'll be plenty of other years.
Right. And that's not a guarantee. Like, I really hope that, she does come out with me. Because she
Absolutely.
hasn't been out there yet, and she needs to see it. It's gorgeous out there. But I understand if a couple things, that she needs to take care of is coming up, and I'm very grateful that she's still allowing me to go, and I'm very thankful for that. But if that does happen, that might mean I'm coming out and will probably spend that week of muzzleloader with you,
Awesome.
or part of it, because I absolutely cannot leave until Sunday.
Right.
And then because that Saturday, the Saturday before we originally planned to come out, I have an obligation that I have to be at. I can't. And but that Sunday I can leave, which means I won't be there till Monday. Worst best case scenarios midday Monday or mid afternoon, early evening Monday. But that's best case. However, if things go the way it goes, then we'll be coming in on the tail end of muzzleloader. And then I probably won't be hitting the mountain until after muzzleloader closes. That's kind of the idea. But that's kind of the plan coming into that. Now, obviously, that's not including my whitetail hunts because in Ohio, I just pretty much just go whenever I want.
Yeah, rub it in.
because we have such a liberal season. So that's kind of the idea. Speaking of that, obviously, we kind of have an idea that, these seasons are coming up. We're getting ready. I wanted to take a minute, especially on this podcast, since it's going to be a little bit shorter one, just to kind of discuss a little bit about some of the stuff, decisions and prep work we've been doing to kind of going into this, getting ready for the season. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm game. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's let's get the elephant out of the room. Obviously you and I, we've been in communications and I can edit this out if you don't want to talk about it, but yeah, you kind of had a little incident that took place that kind of injured your ankle. We won't talk too much about the details, right? But had a little ankle injury that is kind of keeping you from doing your normal scouting. So what's been going on? How's that coming along for you?
Yeah, if it's not one thing, it's another. Last year, it was a fire that kept me off the mountain for, well, until pretty much season. I managed to get a camera up 2 weeks before season last year, and we hunted our way to it. Like, I didn't go mess with it, and we hunted our way to it once we got up top. And I mean, it showed elk, but whatever changed, they weren't there. And then this year, mid July, had my first work related injury, which 32 years old, I feel like that's pretty good. And for it just being a sprained ankle, I also feel like that's pretty good. But it kept me down for well, the paperwork said 6 weeks. I'm a little, well, I don't want to say rebellious because I think most of us that want to get out and do things are going to go, 6 weeks, blow it out your rear end. So I tried to get a little overzealous 2 weeks in and swelled my ankle back up. So, yeah, we're just getting back to close to 100%. I can still feel it. Some ways I twist it and turn it, but otherwise it hasn't swelled back up. And I did 6 miles last weekend doing some scouting for my early season bear rifle tag, kind of leaving the elk spots alone since we're so close to season.
Right.
And just kind of poking around for some bear sign because, man, as soon as them suckers hit phagia, however you say it, it's tough. Their home range expands to 60 miles a day. It's insane.
I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I walk 60 miles a day. Like I hit 10 miles and I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
Far
for
enough.
sure.
Far enough.
I'd be in a lot better shape if I do 60 miles a day.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that.
The
Because
opposite. I mean, they're still doing 60 miles a day and still packing it on. What the heck?
can you imagine the amount of calories they're intaking then?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean,
It's insane.
Yeah, that had to be a lot of calories just to pack that much weight on and still be traveling the way you are, and depending upon if it's a sow with cubs, also defending or keeping an eye on the cubs,
Mm-hmm.
Because they're just like human children. They're going to wander off and get themselves into trouble. So you got to kind of
being a bear.
Yeah,
But I am glad you brought up South Cubs because, that's one tough thing. I think it was 25-ish, closer to 30 years ago now, they did away with the spring seasons. Regardless, you weren't allowed to shoot a sow Cubs in either of those seasons.
Right.
But in the fall, man, that's one thing you have to be very adamant about is taking your time to sit there and watch that bear. Because this time of year, the Cubs are getting bigger. They can be 5-10 minutes behind mom.
Right.
And you gotta be sure.
Yeah. And there are people who are really good at that, and I'm not versed enough in bear hunting, so I definitely would be if I did it, I probably would definitely be on the glass a lot watching that bear for a very long time to be as close to 100% certain that I could be in that situation. You know what I mean?
And that's the big thing. You've been in this vicinity. if you can be on the glass to watch the
Oh,
bear. A lot
yeah,
of this country in this unit is very dense, very thick, very up close and personal. So you might have a quick glance at that bear and go, it's a sow. She might have cubs. And it goes and, maybe it was a young boar that had just got booted from mom with very sow-like characteristics. And
right,
now which, don't shoot a young bear if you don't want a young bear. If you're in the hunt for getting your first bear, I'm not gonna tell you no.
right.
I'm definitely not gonna pass on a opportunity at a decent bear.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would rather be overly cautious than make a mistake and then orphan two cubs and face fines and penalties and all that other jazz because those cubs aren't going to survive in the wild without mom.
No, not at this stage. You
They're
know,
with her for 18 months for a reason.
yeah, yeah. I guess it's better than 18 years.
Where'd we go wrong?
uh yeah. So what have what kind of scout? I mean, you've been scouting out for the bears and stuff. How's the rehab coming? You've been what kind of like training hikes you been doing outside of the scouting? Any at all?
Not so much training hikes, more of, I walk a lot now at work and, doing concrete, asphalt, things like that. So I get a lot of my mobility back at work.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly over the weekends. Past weekend, I did 6 miles and just kind of hiked around looking for sign, scat, prints. Most of the prints I found were old from sunk in mud from when it was still really wet, which I mean could only been a week. There was no, mostly just been walking around checking sign, trying to glass some hillsides where I can, and just see if I can get eyes on a bear before season starts. But this weekend today, I guess being Friday, went out and tried to do another hike, but it's been raining so hard. I mean, fogging up real quick. So not gonna get a whole lot of glassing done. Did come across a massive pile of bear scat in one spot, but again, pretty old sign. So I guess we'll have to see what season brings here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a bear hunter, so I can't give you any recommendations. I've never done it. I just
Um,
hear there's a lot of walking around and seeing no bears that's involved in bear hunting. So I don't know.
yeah, from what I've heard from the gritty guys, most of bear hunting is not seeing bears.
Anyways, it's being a flatlander, and I mean, I do live kind of in the foothills of the Appalachians, so we got some hills, I guess, but they're nowhere remotely close to what the mountains of Colorado are like. And I do my best to try to prep for it, but I know I could always do better. And that's the one thing. Like I've done my prep, but I know I could have done better. One of the things
Same could be said as living out here, though.
yeah, true. But one of the things that I started doing this year, I came across this thing called a pack out trainer from Pack Out Strong, I think is the name of the company. And it's basically made, it's a roller, is it rotor molded or molded? Which one is it? The kayak thing, or is it molded or rotor molded?
I'm not sure. I know it's HDP, which is a heavy duty, high density polyethylene plastic, and it's used for many things.
So it's basically what this thing's made out of, and it actually is in the shape of an elk quarter, and then it's hollow. So then you add weight to it by either adding, whatever you want, dog food, rubber mulch, sand, whatever, right, to get it to the weight you want it to be. Right now, I have it sitting at about 50 pounds, and I've been doing, about 3 days a week. I do about 3 miles, and then one day that week I go hit like almost like a 6 mile loop, and then I've been doing that through August. I started in July. I didn't do it as much in July, so I was more sporadic in July. But in August, I really dialed in to do it like weekly now. And then
Mm-hmm.
here in September, I'm gonna swap out because I got rubber mulch in it now. I'm gonna add sand to it, which is gonna bring it up to about 100 pounds. And then I'm gonna do that training regimen with that 100 pounds. Yeah, right. I might change my mind after the first first two or three.
Have you packed around just have you packed around 100 pounds in your pack yet, just to like see what it feels like?
No, I haven't. So so that's the idea what I'm going to do, but we'll see if that changes. That might be the problem. That I wouldn't mind if it's like swapping it out for, do rubber mulch throughout the week and then one big hike with the heavy, once a week. But it's not overly easy to get the rubber mulch into that trainer. The sand's going to be great, right? But that the top of the hole that it goes into, I'm trying to think of a good comparison for it, but it's well, you work in the utility line, like the covers that they put on for like the shut off valves for like the water lines and stuff, like the small circular, it's maybe a smidge bigger than one of those. And I'm not talking manhole cover. I'm talking about the little covers that, where the shut off valves are. And
for like the shut off.
Yeah, for like the city access or the, whatever, the governmental
access in front of your meter pit.
Yep. That
essentially.
Yeah. So at least that's how it is here. I don't know what it is like out there, but here we have there's like a little metal thing that's painted blue. That's the access to the shut off valve. And
it is pretty universal through most states. Potable water is blue. There's a whole 811 call before you dig utility marker chart. So potable water is always going to be blue.
So that's about as big as the entry hole to that thing is, right? And trying to get rubber mulch in a large quantity in there at one time just doesn't work out very well. So it's probably going to be one of those things that I'm going to either be all or nothing. So once I switch it out, it might stay that way. But definitely it's been hitting about 50 pounds. I like it. I did switch packs this year. I switched over to the EXO K4. I got the 5,000, but it's a K4 frame. It doesn't, the size of the pack doesn't matter because it's the same frame. And that rides really well. I know you end up going with the Kountryfried because you got a pretty good deal on a barely used frame, and then they had a closeout on the pack, right?
Yeah. What essentially would have been a $1,200 system, I paid, I think, $550 for.
Yeah, and
so I can't complain there.
No,
otherwise, I probably would have went the EXO route or the Kuyu route, one of those two directions. I was also looking at the initial ascents at the time as well.
Right.
But they're a little high up there too. Not as high as the Kountryfried, but pretty close.
Yeah. They say the Kountryfrieds are pretty much built to be bomb proof, so I guess you'll find out.
We'll find out. I haven't done a lot of weight in it yet. Still just trying to be a little cautious with this ankle. I really don't want to mess it up and be out for the season, considering the only two tags I have this year are early bear rifle, which is September 2nd through the 30th, and muzzleloader elk tag the 14th through something. I can't remember the end date, but I don't want to mess up this September.
Right. No. Speaking of that, you're going out with a muzzleloader for elk. How's the training with the muzzleloader going?
Good. I got it out once, but it's
going great.
Shot exactly as it should. Honestly, it shoots probably better than I can shoot it. I might be looking into a peep sight in the future. I do like the Williams fiber optic sights that are on it. I was hitting where I should be at 100 yards. I did my first shot at 50 with 100 grains of powder. I was going to fluctuate my powder to see what was going to be the best range, but first shot at 50 was beautiful. And then the following shots at 100 were just as good, if not better, with 100 grains. So why mess with something that's working?
Right. Now you have to keep iron sights on that gun. You're not allowed to do optics on that, right?
No optics, no sabos, no pelletized powder. So it has to be loose black powder, no smokeless powder either. So they keep it pretty tight, even though it is an inline muzzle loader. They keep it as close to quote unquote traditional as they see fit,
as they can. Yes. I don't know if that's a. I don't know
we
if
won't go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, yeah. Just
archery hunters getting shots usually.
Just
great
thing
for PR.
Just shut up, Sean. Just let it go. Um, yeah. So I archery, obviously I shoot all the freaking time. Like I almost shoot like daily. Um,
Yeah,
and
you've been on top of it seemingly more so this year than even prior, and that's still a lot.
yeah, it's I think the wife gets angry with me. but yeah, I shoot a lot, and I think this year I know this year I've changing a little bit with my broadheads. Instead of going 150, I'm dropping down to 125. So my total arrow weight's going to be like 475, and it seems to be flying really well. So I need to get online and order my iron will broadheads at 125.
Yeah,
And
you
get
should
those
probably
in.
do that before everyone else does, and you're waiting.
Yeah, I see. I've been kicking around the idea because they have the single bevel wides now at 125, but they're vented and they're not. So if you look at them, the 100s are really vented, and then the 125s has a little bit more material in the blade itself, but they're still like vents cut into the very, almost like the front half of the main blade is vented out.
Okay.
And I'm not too sure. Like to me, I think with the same, now I'm sure these things have been tested. It's iron will, like they're not going to break or something, but just for me, when I think of the torque that they create because of the single bevel, you'd almost would want a solid blade. You don't want that opening there to kind of make a weak spot for it to twist or bend or not do what it's supposed to do. So
Correct.
so I'm
But as you said, with iron will, you're not going to go wrong as far
right.
as durability. It is nice having the confidence with those solids, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I probably will not do the single bevel wide in 125. I'll probably stick to the single bevel solids in or the normal size in the 125. So Marty at Iron Will, I've talked to him a few times, like through Instagram and stuff. And I've had, him and I, if you've listened to the previous podcast, my thoughts on titanium. Yeah, I've broken titanium ferrules before while hunting. I didn't shoot a rock. I didn't shoot a tree. I shot an animal and it broke. So I was kind of leery of titanium, but Marty over there at Iron Will kind of convinced me that it's really about the grade of titanium, and the grade that they use is like super durable. So I'll give it a shot, see how it goes. And I
Yeah,
will,
that's all you can do.
yeah, I will say that I do use titanium severs, not elk hunting. I mean, I probably will have some for like a follow up shot, but that's neither here nor there. But I've shot at least a few deer with those now, and I've not had a problem. They've not bent. I mean, the blades are perfect with those. So I okay, maybe titanium's not as bad as I made it out to be.
You just had a couple bad experiences that left a bad taste in your mouth. We've all been there.
Yeah,
And, sometimes product testing in certain facilities isn't as good as it should be. Some places you have quality assurance checking every 20. Some places it's every 100. Some places are small enough they can check everything. So,
so those are really the big changes. That and my water filtration this year. I think I'm gonna roll with the Sawyer squeeze this year. The
well,
grills.
you're squeezed get putting the grail down for the season, huh?
Yeah, I think the grill's gonna stay home. Not because I didn't have an issue with it. I liked it. I just think I'm gonna roll with the Sawyer squeeze, and I'm definitely coming with a bladder this year.
Yeah, yeah. Um, sure, just for your peace of mind. I've seen a couple bladders explode in guys' packs. I like to put mine in a trash bag. I know that trash bag has more than enough to catch the water that I'm carrying in that bladder.
Right.
That way my stuff isn't soaking wet and not sitting on a ruined trip for at least a day or two.
Yeah.
Which, granted, I live here, so I come back and get dry clothes. But if you've got your stuff for the week or however long it may be, that'll put a damper on things.
Right. Well, here's the thing: that XO pack has a sleeve that's waterproof that your water bladder goes into. So
Still put it in a bag.
I think they also has a vent down, or like a whatever you call it down at the bottom. It's a vent. No, a drain. There we go. Same thing, different purpose. Has a drain at the bottom of the bag for it too. So I will take your
Okay.
I will take your advice and advisement. How about I put it that way?
Yeah, no, like I said, I've seen it. Granted, it didn't help that guys I was with that day we went up, it rained all day, and so we were wet when we got up there, and then they had more wet stuff when we got up there.
So yeah, that's the only major changes I'm really making this year, if any.
Nothing as drastic as I made then.
No, I'm still bow hunting. I think the Cabela's tent's coming with me this year, just because, just the ease of setup, and if I decide to move, it's freestanding, so it doesn't require quite as prepped as a spot.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a little bit more weight. I have a little bit more weight penalty, but I think what we did last year, I think I want to like try to mimic that. Have enough stuff for like a few days, come back out, restock, go back in, get a reset and go back in. And if need be, move to another spot at that point. So like, I think that's a good way not to get yourself too dedicated to one spot, because if you're coming back out, like, I might as well just take my stuff with me and go to another spot, because I really haven't seen anything here. And there's no sense
Yeah,
and there's no sense in trying to force the issue.
absolutely. And even the possible suggestion that maybe even last year I have a couple spots that we can park and do a through and through and kind of hunt our way through positions
Right.
back to, have a truck at each trailhead. That way we're not as dedicated to one spot either. And we can kind of be a little more versatile and move the spike camp as needed, kind of what we probably should have done.
Yeah, but yeah,
Hindsight's 2020. We did get close to elk.
we did.
And they were in the general vicinity still. After you left, they were just a ridge or two over, so we weren't wrong. But yeah, if I would have listened to my gut and we would have taken trucks to two trailheads, I think I think you would have got it done. But you can think and wish and hope all you want, it still might not have panned out.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. You live, you learn, you learn to fight again. But you live to fight again, I guess.
Yep.
Um,
And this year it'll be different than last year.
yeah, that's the thing, and that Aaron Snyder talks about that we always prepare for our next war based upon our last war, and it's never the same thing. So
No, sir.
no, it's never the same. But outside of that, just been working on the bow skills. I had to I did do this, and we're going to have to cut it off here in a minute, but I redid my center serving for the first time on a bowstring.
How'd that go?
Actually, that went easier than I thought it was going to. I could definitely perfect it a little bit better, but it's holding up like really well. I noticed that I was getting like a knock pinch, like my
Mm-hmm.
soft knocks, and my loop was kind of compressing on itself, and I was getting a lot of knock pinch. And I went to shoot, and it just got so bad. Like my accuracy was like all over the place, and I was like so irritated. I ended up leaving early from the shoot. So then I
Holy
decided.
cow.
So then I decided, what, I'm gonna do something about this. So I got the jig to do it, and I came back, cut everything off, and sure enough, I had a huge gap. And actually, my center serving was broke. I didn't know this, but it was actually broke.
Wow.
So got new serving and served it myself, and the knock fit is like perfect. That was by luck there. That wasn't by any any skill on my part. That was by luck, but the knock fit was like perfect, a lot better than what it was before. And so now I got a new center serving on there, which I'm gonna be due for new strings. I think I put those on January. It's well, this January will be 2 years those have been on there. So as much as I shoot, I probably should have changed them already, but I didn't. But I did fix the center serving, so but it's
Very
working out a lot
good.
better. So I'm happy with that.
What strings have you been going with lately? Not to keep going, but just curious. I know you'd made a couple changes over the summer.
All right, so I shot rogue for a little bit because I got talked. I was they were suggested to me by a reputable bow shop, and they are good strings. I liked them. However, I kept getting, never mind. I'm not going to talk about it, but there's a reason why I switched. All right. So then I tried America's Best bowstrings, and they were okay. You know what? Let me, I'm just going to say it, right? And it may be just me. I'm just going to get this out here. So with the Rogue bowstrings, I kept getting center serving separation. I don't know what the issue was. I talked to a lot of people. I said, is it the way I'm doing my D loop? Like what is going on here that I'm getting this separation? So, they were more than happy to replace the strings. Like they did. Like I got like 3 new strings because I kept getting center serving separation. And they were newer strings. Like they weren't that old strings. And then I switched over to America's Best bowstrings, and then I started getting the end servings were coming off or were unraveling and stripping and separating around where they attach to, and these are on the cables, where they attach to the cam.
Oof,
And
don't make me nervous.
yeah, and like it wasn't like a threat of it like coming to the point where it's going to break off or anything, because they're like double served up there. But it was the fact that it was creating an issue with timing because it was stretching out a little bit as that happened.
Right.
So, trust it. Like all other premium brands, they are more than happy to replace it. They did it. My problem with that though, is if I'm out hunting somewhere, especially if I can come to Colorado and that starts to happen, I don't have a fix for it there. Right. And I don't want to keep replacing those things. So
yeah, it's no close drive to archery shops around here.
No. So then I switched and tried gas bowstring. So I got their Ghost string. I've really not had any issues with that. And I have shot a lot of arrows. Nowhere near probably what Levi Morgan and Dan McCarthy and all those pro shooters shoot, but I shoot a lot of arrows. Like at least, I could probably tell you I probably shoot at least 15 to 20 arrows a day. Right. And that's, some days are a lot more than that. Some days a little bit less, but on average about 15, 20 arrows a day, every day of the week. Right. So I shoot a good bit of arrows. Finally, I think, so I've had those over about a year and a half, and I started to get center serving separation. That's when it broke, and I just reserved it. Outside of that, I've not really had any issues. Like I've not had a lot of stretch. There was a little bit, but not a lot. Right. It's just they've held up pretty good, and I'm not saying that Rogue is bad. I'm not saying that America's Best is bad. That's not what I'm saying. These are just my experiences I had with them, and and maybe it's something I was doing. I don't know, like because America's Best is great to work with. I actually went there and talked to people there at America's Best. I said, hey, here's my bow. Look at it. Is there something I'm missing, doing wrong? And he was like, no, just sometimes this happens. And then I also got a suggestion from somebody else that's kind of popular in the bow world, that Josh Jones from Podium Archer. I Instagrammed him. I said, hey, or sent him an instant message. I said, hey, I'm seeing this, like, and listen, I bought a bunch. I didn't like say this to make him answer me. I said, you kind of inspired me to kind of start working on my own stuff. So I got a press and stuff from you. Been working on this, and here's an issue I've been having I've been noticing with this is, that was when I was getting the end serving coming off. I said, is this something I'm doing? Because the only thing I'm doing is pulling this off when I need to and putting a little twist in it as I'm trying to time it. That's it. And he's like, no, it's definitely not you. What it probably is that their end serving's too large, because that's a very kind of tight space in there. I said, oh, all right. So I'm like, glad it's not me. I'm like, because I even took the bow. I said, is there a burr or something on this cam that's catching this that that needs to be addressed? And they're like, no, everything's fine. It's just sometimes it just happens. I'm like, okay, but it was like several strings it happened to. Several different cables.
Sometimes the only luck you have is bad luck, but man, that's a streak there. So hopefully it's all out of the way and good luck brings you good fortune here.
Yeah, I mean the ones that are on there now, like they've held up and they've done well. I've not had an issue with them, and I probably am going to buy another set here, because a lot of people get kind of nervous about doing this mid-season, but I've got all the stuff here at the house to do it myself, and I'm going to lose like half a day. Now I might have some quick little minor adjustments I'll have to make, but I'll probably, as soon as the Colorado trip is done, I might order another set and then put them on when they come in. So I'll probably be maybe Octoberish when I put a new set of strings on. But
Yeah.
you know, I really seriously kicked around the idea of like buying new cams and everything for that V3X and just rebuilding it and keeping it. Because I don't see enough innovation in any of the bows for me to want to get a new one right now.
Yeah, I heard that. Definitely getting a higher price for a bow with, I mean, at least from what I can see, what you can see, not a whole lot of difference
Right.
in performance.
So, well, anyways, folks, Rogue Bowstrings, America's Best. You guys are both local people. If you hear this, I'm not trying to talk shade on you guys. I'm sorry. It's just the experience that I had as I was trying to work my way through, to find a string. You guys, obviously, they were great to work with, and I'm not trying to ruffle feathers and stuff. And that was my own personal experience. And do know that your experience may definitely vary from mine. It could very well have been something I was doing. So don't sue me. But anything else good for the order, my man?
Not a whole lot. Anybody out there listening, if you're in an eastern state and you're planning on coming west, share with us your experience or your plans. If you have come west, send some photos with some success stories, man. We're always looking forward to it. Hit up that Instagram, that YouTube. We love to see those kind of stories. So, other than that, everybody have a good season, and we'll look forward to talking to you on the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of success stories, I think the next one you guys are going to hear from us is we're going to sit down and discuss our first bow kills ever, or thereabouts. We'll just put it that way. So stay tuned for that one. That will be coming up pretty soon. And I repeat, and I echo what Sam said. Don't feel free to reach out to us and share your experiences and things with us, even if it's just your own experience with working on your own bows and things like that. Like, you can ask questions. I'm not neither one of us are experts in this, but hopefully we can send you in the right direction. Ladies and gentlemen, we do appreciate you spending the last, hour with us as we sat here and talked about a bunch of random topics and let you know where we're at in the season. And we appreciate you guys still hanging with us during that little bit of a pause that we had. With that said, until our experiences cross paths again, may you have the courage to fail, but yet the humility to learn. And as always, we hope you stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the Kountryfried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. Before you go, don't forget to leave us a review and follow the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Are you hungry for more Kountryfried Outdoors? Then follow us on Instagram at Kountryfried Outdoors, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Kountryfried Outdoor Productions.